I guess that's the only thing that we can do, either thrive or don't, right? Um, Something that I've been saying for a while, and I'm so glad to have a community of people on Substack who truly understand the severity of what's happening in America right now. Um, but I want to just really express and push why I believe so heavily that not what's going to save America, but something that we need to do and start implementing in order to help save it. This is our last year to save it, 2026. We have midterm elections this year. Depending on how successful or not this regime is in dismantling our elections, having interference in our elections, just putting a halt to them, delaying them altogether, this is our last year to try to prevent all that, to try to block up all of the loopholes that exist right now. Because if they succeed in dismantling our elections, if they succeed in using their power, their plenary authority to stop our elections, you can essentially say goodbye to democracy in the United States, at least for the foreseeable future. Um, That is a fact. So, one of the things that I've been trying to push and just help people understand is that in the future, yeah, Jules, I'm not sure. I'm shocked that we don't have more people in the streets as well, Jules mentioned. That's something that I've been saying for years since his first term because that's what woke me the hell up. And it's like, how? You see other countries standing up for other countries and holding huge protests and causing, change. And we're not doing that in our own country for ourselves. And that's crazy to me. But it's like when I say that, I don't know how to explain it. I'm willing to get out there, and I know a lot of you are too. I'm ready to be boots on the ground. I do attend protests and, it just try to stay as active as I can in the community and just doing anything that I can to disrupt, dismantle whatever this regime has going on, whether that's at the local level, whether that's spreading uh, international news, just whatever it is, just trying to break against it and just not let them normalize the shit because I refuse to let it be normalized. Um, but we're not going to survive on a two-party system, right? We've got the Democrats right now. And for those of you who have seen some of my lives, I mentioned before, but I worked for the DNC. I worked on the Biden and then Harris Walls campaign last year. And, that experience helped me see really just how feckless and useless the Democratic Party is. And I want people to understand that I think that we need to let go of hope that they're going to do something, that something is finally going to trigger them. Because if it hasn't happened by now, we're almost a whole year into Donald Trump's presidency. And we've almost gone full blown dictator in a year. We just had an ICE murder today. So the Gestapo is killing people. We are committing unlawful international acts. Um, we're going off the fucking rails. And the Democrats that we have in power right now aren't doing anything about it. And I'm talking about not all of them, but probably the majority of them, the establishment and the ones who don't seem to be taking anything seriously, the ones who piss me off whenever I see their faces or hear their voices. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and those establishment Democrats, they're not going to get us out of fascism. We're here now, right? And we're a full year into it. And what progress have we made with the Democratic establishment? None, right? We've got some people who are speaking out, and we've got some people who are taking steps to seriously fight against it and who aren't afraid to speak up and who aren't afraid to just say what needs to be said and try to do whatever we can to bring awareness to this shit because the establishment isn't doing shit. So we're not going to make it out of this. We're not going to make it out of dictatorship. We're not going to make it out of authoritarianism with the current DNC establishment that we have in place right now. I've been saying for years that the Democratic Party that we have today is the same thing as the Republican Party of the 80s. And the Republican Party of today is just out of unhinged. We need a party that represents us progressives. And I don't even feel like it's progressive, but we're like too radical. We're too crazy. Our ideas are just too empathetic. You know what I mean? We don't have anybody representing us. And that's why Mamdani was so historic. That's why his win meant something because people want change. And listen, whether or not just a side note, whether or not Mamdani is able to implement the things that he says he's going to implement, the point is that he fucking cares. And the point is that he's listening. And the point is that he is trying to make change. Now, what's going to get in his way is the fucking establishment and the bureaucracy and all of the fucking bullshit that, there's going to be lots of pushback. People aren't happy, real estate investors and people of that nature, people who are making money aren't happy about Mamdani. So, they're going to talk shit. They're going to not be happy with whatever it is. But the point here is that this is somebody who cares. This is somebody who has our best interests at heart. And that's what matters is because he's willing to fight. And when we have people who are leading, who aren't helping in this fight, who aren't even talking, and we are literally going through dictatorship day by day, we're getting closer and closer and closer to this democracy being completely unthreaded. Like it's like a spool of thread, and we're hanging on our last thread. 2026 is our very last chance. So we're not going to survive this with a two-party system when none of those parties represents us. None of those parties represents progressive values. None of those parties is willing to fight. So I don't know how to get the word out. I don't know what we need to do, but something big has to happen now because building a party, building a campaign, building political infrastructure takes a lot of work, a lot of hands-on, a lot of volunteering, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And this is going to be a national effort, but we have our children and our grandchildren and the future to think about. And if you think about what's happening right now in America, can you imagine 20 years down the road having a two-party system and still dealing with a two-party system? Like it's not going to happen. So we need to start building it now, whether or not we are able to get viable candidates, which some of these parties have already done. The Working Families Party is really starting to come up, and it's starting to gain more visibility. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's building off of something that already exists. I don't know if it's creating something new. But all I know is we all have to collectively start to come together and do this because logically, it's the only thing that makes sense. Logically, we have to come to the realization that a two-party system is not sustainable anymore. And we need people that are going to fight for us. And if the Democratic establishment does not want to let its leaders, the people who are willing to speak up, the people that are actually doing the hard work, if they don't want to let them lead, then those people need to come serve us in a capacity, in an organization where they're welcomed, where they're not being suppressed, where their voices aren't being oppressed, where they're told to sit at the back and just wait. We're not waiting anymore. This is like this is it. This is the 5-alarm fire. This is it. Like there's no more waiting. This is the moment. And unfortunately we waited too long. So this is the moment that we have to change what is in place right now and start moving towards something new and building for the future because I don't think a lot of people are thinking about the future, and I don't think they're thinking about sustainability. I know we have to get out of this, but we're not going to do it with the people that we have in place right now. I mean, that's partly why we're in this situation. It's not just Trump. It is a problem with the establishment as a whole. That's Republicans and that's Democrats and that's people that aren't willing to stand up for what's right and keep pushing when they're told to sit down and shut up. You know what I mean? So, white supremacy is real, Jules. It's just it's just the goal going forward, and this is the only chance we have to fight against it. So, I've been saying that a lot lately, and I've been pushing that a lot, but I just think it's so important for people to realize that we have to start getting to work and building something new. And I don't know how to do that, but I'm willing to put in the work. And I know a lot of you are too. I just don't know how to start. How do we start building it? Because things aren't looking good right now. And, what's scary with all of the war talk that's going on is just um, how, I guess, far along on the trajectory of potential war we are right now. And I know a lot of people are shocked by what's happening right now. I, however, am not, but I'm scared. And I didn't think it was going to happen this fast. And just a few months ago, we had like scholars and professors and whatnot saying that war is, on the horizon. We've got an uptick in conflict and things like that, Eastern Europe, Africa, now Venezuela and the US and things like that. And so um, with that uptick, and now with the powers shifting, um, war is even more imminent on the horizon. And in history, I've learned that when powers start to shift, so with the US being the hegemony for most of what we know is of our lifetimes, now we're starting to see that shift. And now we're starting to see some of the multipolarity come up with China and Russia starting to gain momentum as far as their economy and trade and all of these things. And so when global powers start to shift like this, generally war follows. And then not only that, but we've got Donald Trump making threats to Greenland and what he's done so far in Venezuela. Um, it's really scary because what people were predicting and suggesting is that World War III could be imminent, maybe within the next 5 years. However, hey Lisa, yeah, send me a DM. Send me a DM for sure. Um, I think it's really crazy that we are going through what we're going through right now. And I think that I don't know, I don't watch mainstream news, and I know a lot of you don't either, but I'm curious about what they're reporting on CNN and Miss Now and all of those, because I listen to BBC for a lot of the day, and then a lot of my news I just get on Substack, really. Substack and, other like articles, websites and things like that. But um, they're preparing like pretty seriously. They're talking about a potential breakup in NATO, which is just insanity, right? It's not something that has really been discussed. And now it's all of a sudden being discussed as something that could be plausible if the US decides to attack one of its allies, aka Greenland. And um, then we've got Ukraine and Russia. And it's just seeming like 5 years is probably a bit of a stretch because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the way that powers are shifting and just you can feel it. I don't know if you can feel it, but I feel it. I feel a shift in the atmosphere, and I've felt this for a while, but when things really start to shift, I think it makes me uneasy, and I've been really uneasy the past few weeks. I've been feeling really off, really, like, down, not quite motivated, just kind of feeling like I don't like, stuck, and I don't know what to do, and just things feel off, and I know things aren't going well, and, this was before we bombed Venezuela, so now it's just, like, these weird back and forth feelings that it's I feel like we're being pulled through every single day, and it's a form of, like, fucking psychological torture. And, this is why this is the world's worst "I told you so," because for people like me and for people like you and anybody else who saw the writing on the wall and knew that things were only going to get worse if there was a second Trump presidency, it really fucking pisses me off that we're here right now. And so I've just been feeling kind of drained because it's like, yeah, he's been elected for about a year now. And working on the Harris campaign was really rough at the end when we lost. So the depression that I was in after that campaign was a level that I didn't really expect. And I think back to people who on the campaign were fine the day after. The day after the election was called, and I specifically remember one of my managers asking somebody how they felt, and they said they felt good. And I thought, we just worked on this campaign for how long? And we just lost horribly. How do you feel good right now? How do you feel good right now? It's people like that that I sometimes feel like, what, I hope I hope they're feeling it right now because that's a fucking insult because, like, our entire world is fucking shook because of that man, and it's just a scary place that we're in right now. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how to think about it. It's constantly on my mind. I'm a news junkie. I'm always keeping up on everything, but the thought of what's occurring right now, it has me evaluating my future. And one thing that I've told people over and over also is that if you have the means to leave, and um, I mean this wholeheartedly. I know that financial stress is huge right now. I'm not in a place to leave right now myself, but if you have a place to to leave the country, if you have a relative in a country that can, that where that can help you get an extended visa or some sort of citizenship, if you have parents or family connections that allow you dual citizenship, if you have the means to start making moves, even just getting your passport. Um, I wholeheartedly believe that if you really care about your happiness and your mental well-being, I think that it's important to try to do what you can, if you can, um, to leave, to save your sanity, right? And I think that people can still you can still fight from afar. I know that people can do that, and, I've seen that with, I don't know if you all have heard Zerlina Maxwell on SiriusXM, but she moved to Italy, and she's living her best life right now, and I have been dreaming about doing that for a few years, but hearing, and living vicariously through that and just knowing that, she's a progressive host. She has to pay attention to US news. And she's still able to do that from afar, from abroad, but be able to live her life with less anxiety, less fear, less worry because she lives in Italy where they don't have an insane, incompetent, psychopathic dictator in charge that is, effectively changing the world every single hour. And so I just think that if you're somebody that really values life and you really value nature and you just really value friends and family and community and things like that, I just feel like for the mental well-being of it all, if you're somebody that this stress is getting to you, um, and you know that it's only going to get worse, things in the United States are only going to get worse, as we've seen. I I just think that we all need to be as prepared as possible. And if you can't leave, I totally understand. Again, I personally don't have the means to do that right now either. But, I think that people are all starting to kind of make moves and take precautions and start planning. People are talking about moving in with family and friends and doing things like that to cut costs, to cut expenses because supposedly we're headed towards recession. I don't know exactly what's going on with that now that I've heard conflicting information from other economists, but despite that, finances are hard right now and a lot of us are struggling. And so I think it's just going to take a collective effort for all of us to just kind of stick together. And, for those of us who do have to stay, you know, I just don't see any way through this without us fighting. Like we all just have to put our all in. And whether you're able to be boots on the ground, that's fine if you can't do that, but there's other things that you can do. There's phone calls that you can make. There are virtual meetings for organizations and things like that that you can attend. You can help by writing articles about things going on in your own local community. Um, legislation and things like that, and just keeping people informed about what's happening in your area of the country so that other people know and, just kind of keeping each other informed because I think it's going to get a lot harder. Um, I know I say that a lot, but it's true. It's just going to get a lot harder. It's going to get a lot worse. And the more that we stick together through this and the more that we are able to be kind of vulnerable and just share our ups and downs, I think that's gonna make it easier. There's no faking it now. Like, people are struggling, and it's gotten to the point where, like, people don't give a shit about admitting it anymore. Everybody is feeling it. There's no shame. Everybody is struggling, and it's not our fault. It's the fault of capitalism. It's the fault of the people that are in power right now pulling the strings. It's a lot of factors, right? So, just hang in there. But we have to do what we can this year, especially because this is literally our last chance at keeping and holding on to that thread that's almost completely unraveled from the spool, that thread of democracy that we love so much, that we probably took advantage of so much, and so much needs to change, but we can't let this go. You know what I mean? 250 years is a long fucking time, and for it all to be taken away just like that, I'm not going down like that. I don't know about you, but I am not going down like that. And so, um, that's basically that's basically it, I just want to continue motivating people, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but these are things that I'm just so passionate about, and um, I just think it's so important for people to understand the power that they have. Even if you feel like there's nothing that you can do things. You can preserve history and write about what's happening in your community. You can preserve your thoughts and what you're thinking at this moment in time so you can look back on this day in history and remember what was occurring and hopefully how we've come out of it in the future. But for now, all we can do is fight and try to find a way to come together, and hopefully people will start realizing that we have got to start building this third party infrastructure now. Again, it's we don't have much time. Like we're very late, and uh, it's very scary, but we can do it. We can do it. I can't guarantee we're gonna get through it, but we can. So we just have to try, and if we don't make it out of this authoritarianism now, at least we tried. At least we were on the right side, and we're gonna continue fighting through it, but it is just going to be a very, very long, tiring road. So, um, with that said, thank you all for joining. Um, I appreciate your comments, and I didn't respond to them all, but, yeah, please DM me if you have anything that you wanna talk about. At least I see your comments. Um, and Jackie, you too. You're you're I understand you don't wanna bury your head in the sand, and I appreciate that because I don't want any of us to do that. You can have your days. I have my days, but, overall, whether you're here, whether you're abroad, you can still fight against what's happening, and so, um, with that said, I will let you all go for the night. I hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I will talk to you all later, and just stay safe.